first possible graph is when the major axis is the x-axis, okay? So now we're talking about ellipses whose center are at the origin. They can also be translated. Okay, so the major axis is the x-axis. The minor axis is the y-axis. Okay. So this is called the major axis. The 2 points at the ends of the major axis, so this point and this point, those are vertices. So here's a vertex, here's a vertex. And you guys can label them with just V's are fine for vertex, okay? The 2 other points are called co-vertices. So co-vertex, co-vertex. And you can label those with a co. So you can write co for co-vertex. Okay? The distance from the center to the vertex is always labeled A. That's a little a. Always A on the major axis from center to vertex. The distance from the center to the co-vertex is always labeled B. The foci that I was talking about up here, the foci always have to be on the major axis, okay? So for example, we could have a focus here. Let's just label it F. And then the same distance over on the other side, we would have a focus there. The distance from the center to the foci is C. Okay. And then we probably want to label this major axis. Bless you. Okay. The other axis is called the minor axis. So you got major axis, you got minor axis, okay? The model for the equation for this graph is x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. So that's what the equation looks like. Okay? Second equation or second graph. That's when your y-axis is your major axis. So vertices are there. And the major axis, guys, is just the longer axis. The co-vertices would be, am I lopsided? Would be about there. And then go ahead and draw your ellipse. So now the y-axis is the major axis. The foci always go on the major axis. So focus, focus. I will never ask you guys to plot the foci. I will ask you to find their ordered pairs where they are. Okay? So gang, refresh me on this. The distance from the center to the vertex is labeled what letter? A. Center to co-vertex is labeled B. Center to focus, C. Okay? All right, the equation for this graph is x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. What is the distance? From center to vertex on the major axis. B was the distance from center to what, gang? What? Coefficient? Co-vertex. On the what axis, gang? Minor axis. Leah's in my gang. Thanks for joining my gang. Okay. C is always the distance from center to focus. Singular is focus. Where are the foci on? Major or minor? Major. On major axis. Now, like I said, I'm not going to ask you to ever plot the foci, but I am going to ask you to find their ordered pair. So I'm going to ask you to find the ordered pair in the coordinate plane. Here's how you find the ordered pair for the foci. The equation is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So does it matter that you know what's a and what's b? Yeah, because subtraction is not, what's that word when you try to flip it? Starts with a C? Commutative, right. Subtraction is not commutative. So does it matter which one's A and which one's B? Totally. Otherwise, it's not going to work out for you, okay? All right, let's do one. Let's graph. So example 1. First of all, I need you guys to find A and B. Anybody know what A is? Anybody know what B is? Leah, what is A first of all?
6.
No. Be careful, don't get your A and B mixed up. A is always on the bigger axis.
7.
So A is 7. Remember, this 49 is A squared. Always underneath, guys, give me A and B. So now we know B has to be what number? 6. Sounds good. All right? You ready to do the graph then? Now, Y is the major axis because it's the bigger number. So make sure your Y axis is long enough. Okay? Whatever number is bigger is your A value, and that's your major axis. Okay? All right. Okay. On the y-axis, we have to go up 7 to find a vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Label it V. We have to go down 7. Label it V. Because it's under Y, on the y-axis, we have to go 7. Because it's under X, on the x-axis, we have to go left and right 6. Label it Co. Label it Co. And then you guys can sketch your ellipse. That's a little lumpy. Okay. All right, now you got to do some ordered pairs for me. Vertices, covertices, foci. We'll talk about the foci in a minute, okay? Can anybody give me the ordered pairs for the vertices? So where are the two vertices at? As an ordered pair on a coordinate plane. Go ahead, Leah.
7, 0. I mean, no, 0, 7.
0, 7, and other one?
And negatives, or 0, negative 7.
Yes. And because the center is at 0, 0, we can write 0 plus or minus 7. Now, anybody confused about that? Over 0, up 7, over 0, down 7. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Somebody else besides Leah have our covertices for us? Go ahead, Kayla.
Would be plus or minus 6.
And?
0.
Very good. Okay. Now, foci. We did not figure out the foci yet. So we have to talk about how to figure out the foci. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Okay. All right, Remy, can you pop the numbers in for us? C squared equals, what is A squared?
A squared is 49.
49 minus, and then B squared is?
36.
36. So C squared equals 13. Square root, C equals. Now remember, when you're solving for a squared, you always get two answers. How do I get two answers out of this? Plus or minus. And can 13 be broken down by any of those numbers? No. Okay, so just leave it as square root of 13. But now we have to write it as an ordered pair. Remember this, vertices and foci match. Vertices and foci match. So if the vertex is 0 something, the foci are 0 something. Okay? Anybody know the something that we're going to put in there? Where did we find out they were at? So the ordered pairs for the foci, the distance from the center to the focus is the square root of 13. So somewhere on this graph is the ordered pair 0 plus or minus square root of 13. This is why we did some of that breaking down stuff. The foci, guys, always have to be as simplified for a circle, okay? Except it's a model for an ellipse. So translation model. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals, gang, what does the equation of ellipse always have to equal? 1. Okay. And we're going to make like the x is the major axis, so that's over a squared. We're going to make like y is the minor axis, so that's over b squared. Okay. The center of the ellipse is at HK. So do you think from this model, do you think we need to change the sign when we pull out H and K or not? Yes, we're going to have to change the sign when it's not translated. We know our model is x squared plus y squared equals 1. Now, what letter is this, guys? Center to vertex. What letter is that? A or B? Center to vertex is always?
C.
Focus is C. Center to vertex is always A. Okay? So because A is on the x-axis, what number do you want to put under x squared? The distance from center to vertex is 8. So what is A squared then, guys? What'd you say? 64. Okay? Now, here's the problem. Always on the bigger axis. So if I knew the x-axis was the major axis. That's why 8 squared had to go under